So you can ask the question. You can even ask from there. It doesn't.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, I didn't even know because like I think I forgot my
It's
question.
very educative, and it's something like we all want to be actually informed about it, so you don't actually make mistakes in it.
Okay, so my question is like, so long as it's not like so we can go from he talked about something absolute. So long as can he go from a no to a yes, in the sense that if she says no in the first place?
Now the question that the reason I like your question there is because even if there is a no to a yes, it means there was first of all a no. Now you did it work. You did a lot of job in there, trying to persuade her. You were persistent and all that, and that's the reason maybe there's a yes. And if she's saying the yes, it means the yes is biased, isn't it?
That yes, but what I was going to say about where it could be where it was originally a no and then became a yes is that consent is switchable. So where it could have been a yes and then it becomes a no, it can also be a no and then become a yes. Where what I mean by that is
go ahead.
Depending on the situation, it could change,
yeah.
right? And so an example of that was I had a partner where they asked me in the nighttime, what is allowed? I'm literally getting in bed with you. Am I allowed to touch you? Am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to do that? And I said, this is okay. This is not, right? But the morning, I felt more comfortable. I liked the fact that what I asked for was respected, and some of the things that were a no in the nighttime became a yes because I was like, I'm more comfortable now. The situation is different, and so a no can become a yes in that sense. But it's not supposed to be something that is persuaded or persisted upon. So yeah, what you said of the whole thing of it, if it was a no, and you're like, please, and then it becomes a yes, then that was not proper consent.
It wasn't proper consent, but eventually she still gave, in quote, the verbal.
Yes, but like it wasn't, that was persuaded or that was persisted, right? But if it's a situation where a person has said no, time has elapsed, for whatever reason, that person by themselves made a new choice and they wanted to give that consent now, that was a free will, that was freely given, therefore there was that switch, but that was something that they did on their own, so that's proper consent. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but it's not just actually, the reason it's getting a little bit difficult for me to comprehend is because I'm like a lot of you viewers over there, and I believe in yes or no. A lot of guys believe in yes or no. Like, do you want to have sex? No. Okay, no problem. We'll forget about it. Now, when there is that consistency whereby you need to want to talk to a lady, to want to actually change your mind, it becomes precarious. Because definitely, yeah, she could actually say, yeah, no, she was what she said initially, and you eventually persuaded her. I've seen a situation whereby a friend of mine actually said he had a baby with his wife. And when he had a baby with his wife, when they had a little bit of chaos in their marriage, the first thing she eventually said was the fact that he persuaded her to having a baby. She said she wasn't ready for it yet. But also, she liked the beauty of wanting to have the baby and wanting to be able to have a mini her and all those beautiful things. Now, when they got into chaos and when they got to situations whereby things were actually tough, because things get tough in relationships and in marriages and all that. But when she got to that point, she said he coerced her mentally to be able to want to have a baby. And now, that's not something that is taken lightly, especially in Canada or down here, or probably North America, because it's taking the emotions and the mental health of everyone is taken into cognizance, and especially if you are actually seeing in the retrospect that you actually manipulated a person to be able to do or give what it is you actually did wanted, it means you actually made them create a bias of their free will.
I think the other part to giving consent is being honest. And then in situations like that also being honest, right? Obviously I don't know the full sense of that situation, so I can't speak on what actually happened there. But,
Yeah, for you.
It could have been a situation where he coerced her, but it could also be a situation where she's angry and she's being spiteful. That is a very
Good.
real thing.
And that was the
also
reason
happen.
why our conversation got to this one. The conversation got to this because I know some things happen in the bedroom or happen between partners, relationships that actually are unblossoming. They're good to be able to live with in the moment. They're good to be able to live with 2, 3 months or even years down the line. But when they are hurt or when people are hurt, they say very grievous things. Now, example was a show I was watching whereby they were actually having a therapy session, and they initially both agreed that they were not going to talk about the case of both of them agreeing to go for an abortion. Now, when things got really intense and there was a lot of smoke everywhere, she eventually said in the therapy session that he actually propagated the abortion and made her lose a baby. Now, she had a baby in Hertfordshire, but definitely it's not attributed to the man. And now he probably might not want a child at that point in time, but both of them agreed as at that point in time. But now they're no longer together and they are actually separated or things are not working good. And she's saying that out of spite, like you said, she's saying that he actually made her do the abortion. Now you see, this is a whole very intricate situation because you've got a question.
Oh yeah.
Please.
It's more of a scenario than a question. Well, it's a scenario and it has 2 questions in the scenario.
Okay.
So, okay, let's say you talked about like having a lot of communication before going into the relationship fully.
Yeah.
Like knowing what you want and knowing what you don't want. So let's say during this whole talk, you have like he has a talk with you saying, okay, I'm this kind of person who, when I do get horny, it's hard for me to come out of being like not horny.
Okay.
And if you're not in the mood, you can tell me you're not in the mood, but it's definitely gonna make me upset. And like you can see it physically on my face that I'm upset. But then he tells you I'm upset, but I'm actually okay with it. So like even if at that point you say no, I'm good with you saying no, but you see on my face I'm upset. So that the first question comes in, is that manipulation?
I would say that he needs to work on his emotions because rejection is a real thing that happens in life all the time. If you go into a job interview and you think the job interview went well, and then they call you and they tell you you don't get the job, are you gonna freak out and cuss them off? Like, no, you're gonna take that and be like, okay, cool, let's move on, let's find another job. But in a relationship or when we're wanting to be with a person sexually or emotionally, a lot of the times we take our anger or emotions out on this person who's rejected us, which realistically it shouldn't be like that. Just the same way that we take it kindly when a job rejects us, when a person rejects us as well, we should bring those emotions to maybe our friend or go write about it in a journal, but don't put it on them, right? Also, the way you reject a person, you should do that with care and love. But if a person has treated you that way, they've been caring and they've been loving to you, but have rejected you, that you should be able to hold space for the fact that they've rejected you and respect that no, right? So, I mean, it's also her choice to be like, okay, that's a real thing, I'll just deal and know that that's something that...
Sorry to cut you, yeah?
Yeah.
Talking about rejection, I think that's something I think a lot of guys, we need to be able to understand. I'm still learning that. When a girl tells you no, yeah, it's difficult, very, very difficult. Or probably you're in a relationship and your girl breaks up with you and it's really, really hurting because definitely you see yourself like, what have you done wrong? Or probably you start asking yourself a lot of questions mentally. Now, it's 100% valid for you to be rejected. But being able to know how to manage the rejection is very important. I'm not gonna lie to you, yeah? I feel like a lot of black community, a lot of us, a lot of black men actually, we do not have firm understanding about being able to absorb rejection. We've got our emotions out, our emotions are very voracious because definitely sometimes we actually like, when somebody tells you no, you're like, why would you tell me no, that kind of a thing, and you want to be able to say something or do something or be something to be able to make the person actually change their mind about it. It just comes from a big yardstick of ego in us that makes us feel like, yeah, we cannot be told no. But like she said, understanding rejection and being able to accept rejection just the way she gave an hypothesis about, you could go for a job, you could actually be turned down for the job, and you wouldn't go straight to the manager's office and yell at them and tell them you didn't give me the job and all that. But I'm not gonna lie, it's a different case when it comes to emotions. Their memories, their feelings, validated feelings, trust, there are secrets in there whereby you've shared with your significant other. And so it's difficult to be able to absorb all of those things, and eventually absorbing that, the person tells you no and you just want to be there and not say anything. Because that's the reason why a lot of people say things they don't want to say. That's the reason why a relationship gets into bad situations and people are like, oh, yeah, you used to be like this as well, and you're like this, your life is like this, and that kind of a thing. And you say things back to back about the person just because you were unable to manage the emotions of being rejected. So actually, she made a very good point there. Being able to manage the feeling of being rejected is very important. And also, like she said, if she says no or she says stop, don't have sex, or probably I'm not in the mood right now, it is a rejection. Now, this is not a rejection of you not being in a relationship, but this is a rejection of her not wanting you at that particular point in time. It's more also like she might be mad at you also, and you might be like, yo, I want to come to your house. I'm coming to your house to sort out this thing. You see, there's a lot of ego in this thing called relationship and affections, 100%. You're like, okay, if I can see her and I can talk to her in person, she might actually change her mind, you know that? Because you feel you have that feeling that she sees you eyeball to eyeball, eye to eye, and talks to you and you relate your feelings to her. She understands you better than over the phone and all that. 100%. But at the same time, she's actually trying to make us understand and educate us that irrespective of the fact that you're doing that, you're actually using the word, you're manipulating her, because actually her mind, and she came from something in the lady or the man has got from something in themselves that actually made them feel like they should say no to you. And if they feel like they should say no to you, then it's valid.
Yes. We said a lot of things that I want to touch on,
Okay.
but just finishing up on the question he had.
Oh, I'm not done.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, please, go ahead. Please, we're listening. We're listening.
So-
We're all learning because this is a real life scenario with a lot of issues in our communities happening, whereby people eventually are not consensual about things, and because of that, they don't get consent. And not only do they not get consent, sometimes people just try as much as possible to ship it under the rug. And it comes back to bite some people. 5 years, 10 years down the line, and eventually you see somebody running out a lawsuit to you and telling you that this was what you did at this particular point in time. I saw a video on Instagram about a celebrity who 10, 15 years ago, he was actually in a summer gathering and mistakenly he was touching the lady's boobs or something, and now the lady's got a lawsuit to him, the lady's got a lawsuit to him, and it's been 15 years. So she didn't complain a couple of years ago and all that, but that's the reason why this is very, very educative and for us to actually take it very cognizant, because it might not happen right now. You might be all good with your partner and your relationship and it's all going well and things are sweet. But 5 years, 6 years down the line, are you sure the person wouldn't come back and be able to say, actually, this thing you did was wrong? Please, sir, can you ask your question?
Oh yeah, so my question started off as like the whole communication thing. And let's say you do get to the point when, okay, you're in the bed and it's time to have sex, and she doesn't want to or he doesn't want to, and you talk to the person that you want to have sex, and they say no, and you're like, okay, cool, that's fine, like I'll go to bed then. But then in your mind they have like a whole playback of a scenario of what you said that you're gonna be upset, but like physically you're not even showing like the emotions or anything, like you were cool with it, like you're actually going to bed. But then in their head they actually like see you being upset, and then they're like, okay, maybe this is actually something I want to do, or or maybe they're actually doing it because of like they have this in their head that you might be upset, or you have a tendency of being upset, even though you're not. Is that still like consent, like, or isn't that consent? Because you're going to bed already, like you do not even want to, like you're not interested no more. You're not pushing. You're not like moving forward. It like you're done.
If I feel like that goes into a person's own personal insecurities at that point, because that sounds like they have this need or this feeling that they must please all the time, to the point where they will abandon their boundaries to make sure that another person feels okay. Because if that situation is this person has not displayed any anger, they have not made it seem like they're upset, it becomes a little bit more complicated when you've thrown other instances before where the person has been upset. That makes it a little bit more complicated, but like if we're just talking about in the sense that a person's usually good with just saying, yeah, no, that's cool, and going to sleep, and this person feels like they're doing something wrong with their no, or like that they feel like that this person's angry with them even though they've displayed nothing of the sort, that goes back to their own insecurities at that point that they need to work through, because they've put it in their heads that this person's angry when they're not.
Oh, and do you mind touching on like the other scenario when they have had like things happen in the past, but like it's not like consistently, like it's just like, let's say out of 10, it's just like a 2 out of 10 that has happened before, and at that point they feel like they need to, like, even if, okay, first of all, is the person going to bed, like whoever like brought up the whole thing and like, oh, I'm cool, is that person guilty, or that person like not guilty? Like guilty in the sense like, did the person manipulate the other person, like even if he didn't show any physical anger or any emotional like anger or anything?
In the sense of like if there's been issues before where they've gotten angry, or if they've been pushy about
Well,
a
like
no that was
like
given.
a 2 out of 10.
You mean like 2 out of 10 times?
Yeah, 2 out of 10 times.
I feel like it's kind of hard to say, to be honest, because I wouldn't say that in that moment if they have shown nothing, they've shown nothing that they are trying to be persistent or trying to be manipulative. If this person feels that way, that might have been something of an insecurity that's been built now, and something that they need to work through together. But it doesn't necessarily mean in that moment that they have coerced this person into having sex with them if they've never come across that word. It would be like if that moment they are feeling like they need to do it because of the 2 times they've been coercive. It's a tricky thing. It sounds like at that point then that they are their insecurity has been built in the relationship, and that can technically be not abusive, but it's built an unhealthy dynamic in the relationship. So I wouldn't necessarily say in that moment they're being manipulative, but they've built a foundation for this person to feel like they must do things that they don't want to do. So they've created a power imbalance, basically, if that makes sense. Which, in that point, they would have to work through to repair that.
All right. Thank you. You answered my question. That's very informative.
Very, very informative. So, I've got a question. If now the thing is, when it comes to mental health and relationship, it's like every singular action is branched from an emotion. And all of these emotions, or probably the actions, are more judged than the emotions. Now, in the case of convincing somebody to be able to see in light what you want, there are a lot of names to actually call it. In our modern day world, they're going to call it manipulative. It's not going to be. There are back in the days, probably our parents, when they were in love, or probably when they had their significant others, you can see a man actually talk to a lady, and the lady is definitely going to say no. But he begs her and tells her, baby, I really care about you, and I really like you, and I really love you. When you wink your eyes, this is how you make me feel. Even when you're mad at me, it doesn't change my affection towards you. Your smile brightens my life and all that. And you're telling her all of those beautiful things, and eventually she changes her mind because she now gets to understand that the man has got valid feelings, especially when he branches it into situations whereby he can explain to her, tell her, this was something you did and it really did make me feel good. And she eventually wants to validate the fact that I like my man and I probably want to make him happy. Now the problem is, amidst of all these conversations we've had today about consent and all that, things are not like the way it used to be anymore, because definitely it's more like you trying to even have an ordinary mere romantic conversation could be also looked into as manipulation.
Not necessarily, because I think I'm trying to get an understanding of what you're saying they're asking for in that scenario back in the day, right? Are we asking for this person's hand in marriage? Are we asking to be able to take them on a date? Are we asking for sex? Like, what are we asking for in that
Sex.
scenario?
We're the topic tonight. We know there's marriages, there's date and all that, but there's still sex in it. Now,
So,
because there are beautiful bedroom talks.
mm-hmm.
Easily, let's put it this way. The man is horny, comes home, wants sex. The wife went to work, she's exhausted, tired, and she's not willing or probably ready to give sex right now. Now, probably she also doesn't want to give oral sex as well. Now, what does he do? He tries as much as possible to tell her all the beautiful things, how it makes her feel. Like, okay, when you're on top of me, you make me go into the clouds, you give me the good feelings, you make me feel like this and all that. And she's laughing and she's saying, oh, you're a nonsense man. You know, those kind of jovial shit.
But I think that's a very different conversation than her saying no. Because, yeah, in that conversation, you're seducing your partner, you're telling them how much you like
Now,
them, all that.
seduction, could seduction be a manipulation as well?
I
Because
don't-
seduction, in this word, the word seduction is actually a manipulative term. If it is free will, seduction means the person could like you or want it just the way they do want it. Free will. But seduction comes from every stem of wanting a person to want you or give you what exactly you want. From the perfume you wear that night, from the dress you wear that night. All of that is seduction, to be able to get the attention of the person to actually want you. So,
You said something very important though, to get their attention, right?
exactly.
And it's very different to ask to like present yourself in a way to get a person's attention. It's a very different thing to ask for their body or for sex from them and get yes or no. I think yes, you can set yourself up in a way to make a person feel like, oh, that you're
Like
very
it lights up the
pretty.
candles.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that a person cannot still say no to that
Of course,
situation.
we're validating the fact that the person can say no. But what
And so it's what happens after that no is where it becomes an issue, right?
okay, now she has said no.
Mhm.
But he has put on his good mood, his sweet mood, the sweet mouth. He talks to her, and probably she has said no. He gets his phone or his laptop, and it was like, baby, there was one shoe or there was one bag you were trying to buy the other day. Have you bought it? And she's saying definitely that, oh, babe, I haven't bought it yet. And he opens his phone or his computer, and right in that minute, he buys her the Louis Vuitton bag or buys her the Gucci bag. In quote, if she has said no and she's not willing to be able to say yes, she's actually succumbing to the manipulation, which is also a seduction, because he has seduced her with his ability to be able to give her what she actually did want. But initially, she actually did say no. So seduction, be it from the girl's side and from the guy's side, is still a manipulation. His finances has manipulated the situation. So
I
it's,
wouldn't call that seduction though.
Oh,
I would call that bribery.
you would call that bribery.
Please, because
Okay.
you're saying that he's put on candles, whatever.
Okay.
She's come and she's like, no, I like thank you so much, but no, not tonight. And then he's like, oh well, did you buy that bag? That's bribery.
Okay, now let's put it this way. This is beautiful. Forget about the Louis Vuitton bag. Forget about the Gucci bag. The guy comes from work. He's exhausted. He's tired, and he definitely knows very well that he doesn't want to have sex, innit?
Okay.
Now, in that process, she comes. She goes. She touches him, and he's like, I'm tired. But guess what? She goes into the bathroom, gets a shower, puts on a very nice Victoria's Secret, wears good perfumes and all that, and guess what? She brings a strawberry or probably an ice and she puts it on his back. And in that time, in that minute, he sees her in a different way. It's what in quote we call seduction, isn't it? Now, he sees her in a different way. She's smelling good. He even brings her hair close and says, "Jeez, you smell really good." And now he's now tuned in to want to actually having sex, irrespective of the fact that he was tired and he didn't actually do what? Want sex initially. Now, that's a bribery too, isn't it?
That's
bribery plus seduction.
Bribery is basically wanting to trade something, right? So in this situation with the bag, you're saying that she wants that. That's something you can get for her. So I will give you this if you do this for me. With the whole thing of getting herself dressed up and everything, it is a sense of manipulation if she's already said no, which is true.
Good.
But
continue.
I think there's a difference between surprising your partner when they come home looking that way.
Yes.
That's different. And then getting a no in that situation, then fine. Even though you're all dressed up and everything, he doesn't want to do it. But if it's that he's already said no and then you try to do all these things to kind of coax him, then yeah, that is manipulation.
You see?
And I think because that was one thing I wanted to touch on before, where a lot of times, because of how we look at culture in the sense of sex, we look at men always wanting sex and that they are always ready to go, their penis is always hard, blah, 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 right? But in actuality, there are moments when guys don't want to have sex.
True.
And I've heard a lot of stories of women thinking he's cheating, thinking he's gay, thinking he's no longer into her because of the fact that
I've had a situation whereby I didn't want to have sex. And not wanting to have sex, I'm just like, my reason was actually a religious reason. Religious reason in the sense that I was fasting at that point in time. It was difficult, to be able to make her understand that I didn't want to have sex because I wanted to just pray and fast. Now, it comes to the notion whereby she comes and she's trying to put her body on you and kiss you and all that and all those beautiful things and all that. You've said it. As a matter of fact, I said it even a month ago or a month before the time, and I was like, yo, listen, I don't want to have sex at this period of time because actually I'm going to be in a religious kind of prayer stuff and all that. But even with the fact that I said it a month ago or weeks ago before the event and all that, it is saying very well and vividly that I am actually starving her. In that process, you're not trying as much as possible to want to please your partner and not make them feel completely bad about themselves or feel like you're not attractive enough, and you're wanting to go out of your will about that, and that's actually manipulation.
Well, yeah, in that moment, if you're going to be like, oh, you're not attracted to me, or oh, like you must be cheating on me, or like say these things that are hurtful, that can be manipulation. That can just be hurtful in general, and you're not listening to your partner and meeting them where they're at. I think in the sense of something like that, you let her know ahead of time, you let her know that this is something that's important to you, and I think that's a part of the give and take within a relationship, that there are going to be times where it's what your partner needs. It's not always fun or nice, but you're going to do it because you care about this person and love this person, right? And just the way that there are going to be moments where you need something and it might not be that fun for your partner, but they'll be willing to be there for you because they care about you. And so I'm sorry that happened to you, that they weren't respectful of that. But yeah, that was completely disrespecting your consent.
Consent. Alright, before we continue, yeah, she's gonna tell us something, but before we continue, please subscribe. Like the video and please subscribe. Subscribe. We're all telling you to subscribe. You can actually watch all this information and not subscribe. Doesn't make. I know you will subscribe. Alright. Before we go, we've probably covered a lot today, and actually the time is fast spent. But we're gonna ask her, what is the word of advice you've got for guys out there and girls out there about sex education and consent? You're talking to them now. You're talking to a particular individual who's in the country somewhere about sexual consent. So we need you even in the middle to be able to explain to them. Yeah. What is your word of advice, your word of wisdom for them?
Communication is key. You can never have too much communication. And being open, honest, and respectful at all times is something extremely important in order to allow a relationship romantically and sexually to thrive. And I would say anything in the sense of traumas, it's always, there's never a wrong time to start seeing a therapist or getting help, talking through certain things of the past. So, and then also being open with your partner about those things so that you guys can support each other through those things. And so I think those are like the basic things that can really help for a romantic and sexual relationship to thrive. There's lots and lots of things that could be talked about in the sense of
ladies,
sex and
please,
relationships.
ladies. A word for the ladies. What do you think? Because some ladies are in relationships whereby they do not want to poke the feeling of their spouse, and they will agree to almost everything. Please, what word would you got for them?
When you're already in a situation where there's certain dynamics that have already been created, right? So there's an understanding that certain things are okay, even though you might emotionally not feel okay with those things, or in your head, those are things that you don't want. I don't think there's ever a wrong time to start a conversation around those things, that these are things you've allowed and that you are sorry for not being open about that, but that you want to repair that now. Obviously, that is not an easy conversation to have, and getting support from a sex therapist, a relationship therapist, or a marriage counselor can definitely help in that process of repairing that misunderstanding or the pain that has come out of those misunderstandings. But definitely open up the floor for conversation about those things would be the first step, definitely, and not holding those things to yourself anymore.
I want to stay on the point whereby she said don't hold it to yourself. Also, they're free to contact you. We're gonna, you can go ahead. We're gonna leave her Instagram handle on the screen, and also you were saying something about your ways to communicate to you or communicate.
Yeah, they can message me on my Instagram, nakedtruth_NAKD.
Oh, okay. So you can message her, and she will be willing to, if you know you want to talk to somebody about a sexual experience you're currently having in your relationship, and if you're a guy, you can actually message me and talk to me. Just leave a comment and I'll probably reach out to you back. But if you're a lady, and I feel she being a lady will have better understanding.
I'm okay with talking to guys too.
Okay, if you're a guy or if you're a girl, you definitely want her to talk to you about sexual education and consent. Feel free to actually message her and contact her, and she will give you the right advice and information you definitely do need. I actually wanted her to talk to us about her business, but time is fast spent, and we're going to call it.
The other thing that I wanted to mention about men and relationships as well is that it's okay to have emotions. That's one thing that within society we fail at really holding space for, that men feel, that men have thoughts. and want to be able to be more open about that, and that a lot of times that they're put down by their partners or by those around them when it comes to their emotions about
There is a word in the street right now that when a guy releases his feeling, he's actually mocked. And when a guy releases his feeling, he's probably going to be laughed at. And that's the reason a lot of guys, even myself, we keep it all inside. Because we do not want our appearance or the way people see us to be different from the way they actually think about us. Probably you could see a guy, he's all macho, he's got the chest and all that, and you people like, yeah, he's a man, he's cool and all that. But deep down, you know very, very well that he's got feelings. And the truth is, he might not want to open up his feelings. So,
well, it doesn't make you less masculine, is what I want to say. Is that
she said it doesn't make you less masculine. If you're a guy out there and you want to talk about your feelings and you feel like you can actually open up, it doesn't make you less masculine. You don't need to see a therapist actually. You could just talk to her. She's going to have a good advice for you and be able to make it work. So we've come to the
and any woman that's going to put you down for your emotions is not a woman that is a healthy woman for you to be around. But
any woman, any man that will put you out of your emotions is not the right woman for you. Do you understand? So please pay attention to what she just said and don't forget to subscribe. She's got a lot to give. You see, she's still ready and willing to be able to share more with us. So please feel free to contact her at any given point in time. Like our videos, share with your friends. Share with your friends because this is a video that talks about our day-to-day activities in life, and a lot of things have gone wrong for some people in their life because of just sexual consent. So please share with your friends and God will bless you. Let's thank Jessica for coming to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's nice actually to have you, and hopefully we'll have you another time for the business so she can educate us on starting the business, growing the business and all that. So thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
It's a cut.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah.